Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, well, here we are a week after the NFL draft, and we are still talking about the 40th selection. You know, the one that, if you listen to the experts, is going to change the fortunes of the New Orleans Saints. That's right, boys and girls. They all claim it's a done deal. Tyler Shough will be starting on September 7th, 2025. Book it. We've already decided the $50 million man will be lounging by the pool in California, sipping Mai Tais and riding around in his $500,000 Rolls Royce. That's right, Derek Carr will spend his 34-year-old season away from the game as he contemplates the next step in his NFL career. Even our own experts at the Times-Picayune have said there's anywhere from slightly above 0 to a 10% chance Derek Carr starts. So what am I missing? Why am I letting common sense get in the way of the experts' narrative? Well, let's ask one of those experts. As Fox 8's Garland Gillen will join us here this morning to share his viewpoint. We'll also share our thoughts on way too early over-under win totals for the Saints, LSU, and Tulane. And my last word goes back nearly a half century when I was just a little boy. Man, that was a long time ago. Cue the music before I start to tear up.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? You get enough of the quarterback talk yet? Of course you haven't. That's why you're here for Dattitude, episode number 369, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, May the 2nd, 2025. The first show in May. I'm your host, Jim Derry, 34 and a half years in the New Orleans sports media scene, and I thank you for being a part of our ever-growing Dattitude family. We hit a milestone this week. I'll tell you what it is later in the show if you don't already know, but it's pretty significant. Pretty excited about it. Breaking news this morning. Greg Popovich, the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, stepping down. An NBA with no Pop courtside? Man, it's going to be weird. He is stepping down as head coach, transitioning to full-time team president, according to Shams. We may mention that later on. We'll see with our guests. Heather, last minute, Jeff Duncan couldn't make it, so thankfully, Garland Gillen was able to step in. He'll be on the show in just about. We're gonna start him early this morning, and we usually have our guests 11:20. Garland's gonna come on about 11:10. He's already in the green room, so about 5-6 minutes we'll get to Garland. I'm gonna get some of your comments here early and later. Garland will be on about a half an hour. We will take your comments afterwards. Plenty to talk about today. We may get into – we're not just going to talk about Tyler Shough and Derek Carr, right? I mean, that is going to be the focus of today. Was on the final bet last night with Garland, and that was the number one question. So I'm going to pose some of the same questions he asked of me and get his thoughts. That'll be coming up again in about 5 minutes. Next week, program and note, no show next Friday. I am taking next Friday off, be the next week. We got a schedule release coming up. So I will be taking some days off here and there as we get into the summer before we get ready. I tell you, it's no time, man. You go through May and you go through June and you take some time off here and there. But once you hit July, once the 4th of July is gone, you're into the next season, man. I joke about how you go to bed in August and you wake up and it's February. Well, really, our jobs now, you go to bed in July and you wake up and it's January. I mean, we don't get a lot of time to sleep these days. I mean, you get May and June, and that's about it. So I will take some time off here and there as we get through May and June. So no show next Friday. But today, as always, you can be a part of the show by typing in your comment on YouTube or Facebook. We will take some comments, some questions when Garland's on. And, of course, after Garland's done, we will spend probably a half an hour just with you guys. So it's a mono-y Friday of a sort. We will definitely spend time talking to you. You know how to do it. If you type them in, whether you type it in on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube, you can do so easily, and we will get to it later on. You can also get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. or via email, jderry@theadvocate.com. I've been getting a lot of emails as of late. I thank you for all those. I'm sorry if I don't read them all in the air. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes you just saying to get things off your chest. I get it, and I'm glad I can be that sounding board. I usually respond either here on the show or respond by typing back to you. All right, before we get to Garland, before we get to a couple comments, I want to tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. If that is you or someone you know, it's time to reach out to you-know-who. Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. Who knows? Maybe you can be sipping Mai Tais by your pool in California, if that's what you choose. Maybe you can have a $500,000 Rolls Royce and start your own podcast and talk about it and be boring as hell. Maybe you can decide what you're going to do next year. Try to get in the NFL. Well, that's probably not going to happen. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. I know one thing is after you talk to Nick and Ron, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? Well, we'll fill you in later in the show after we talk to Garland. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelisecurities.com. All right, who is here this morning real quickly? Charles Mangus, good morning. Where you at? Lakers went home. You're excited? Okay. I don't care. I haven't watched, and I don't care. I just don't. I know that LeBron's blaming somebody other than himself. That's another reason why I just don't watch the NBA. Just can't do it. Brian S. Steve, good morning. Who Dat Nation? Teresa Williams, good morning. Welcome. Mark Gapsky, who dat, baby? Chad Gage, cue the music. We did that. We certainly cued the music. We're getting to it. We're diving in this morning. We are jumping in. Phil, good morning, y'all. UBN, going to find out common sense ain't that common. You ain't kidding. I don't know what the hell happened to common sense. Common sense doesn't take a ride out of New Orleans. This has got to be the weirdest couple of months. We always talk about weird offseason. That seems like there's been a lot of weird offseasons since Sean Payton left. This has got to be the weirdest one. Gerard Semino, good morning. Brian Cavett, good morning. What's up, Jazz Fest fanatics? Get the shrimp boots ready. Yeah, it's supposed to be, might be nasty out of there, but not till later. Not till later. Brian says, how great was it that Tyler ate Dragos and not Chipotle? Oh, boy. Right there makes him. He's now you like him. You want him to be quarterback because he ate Dragos and he didn't eat Chipotle. Common sense ain't that common, man. I'm telling you. It just ain't that common. John Pace, good morning, my friend. John Carter, good morning. Chris Scheck-Snyder. Boy, yeah, Chris. Welcome. John Carter. We will have a winning season. Positive. You're going to like one big part of this show in a little bit, John. If you think the Saints are going to have a winning season, we will talk about Saints over under. What is the Saints over? I'm not going to jump the gun. You're going to have to wait and see what the Saints over under is. Let's just say if they have a winning season, they will go well over. UBN says, keeping it positive. We're keeping it positive, brother. We're keeping it positive. All right. Good morning, Dylan. Got a few more in the queue. I got to get to Garland. Good morning, Cecil. Cannon, hello. Randall, you're back. Where you been, my friend? Who dat daddy's here? Has anyone seen Derek Carr? I'm sure someone has. Someone somewhere. David Robinson, Joe Hamilton. Everybody, good morning. We're going to get to your comments in a little bit. All right, it is time to move on and get started. We're getting started early. We're jumping right in. We're not wasting any time this morning. We are wasting no time this morning. Going right to the man who has multiple shows. He had Garland on the Avenue. He just started his own show on the Gulf Coast. Is it Sports and Entertainment Network? Is that okay?
Right? And so I'm actually wearing the hat. I didn't plan it that way. I just got back from a workout and I was like, I need to just throw a hat on. So,
all right. Well, tell us about your newest show, Garland.
Yeah, so we have Gulf Coast Sports Entertainment Network, and obviously we broadcast the entire Pelicans season on there, which just ended. So, it's the summer months, and I suggested that we do a show where I just do long-form interviews, and I turn them into stories on Fox 8 News, but I also go into deeper detail. I just had Emeril Lagasse on, and, we got it's sports, but it's also other things, chefs, musicians. Yeah, so we're going different ways. And I ran into Frank Wilson the other day at a high school practice, and he's like, I saw that interview with Emeril. I really want to do that show, man. It looks cool. So Frank Wilson might be on there soon enough there, because Frank, as you know, Jim, you've been in the media a long time. Frank has been around in our lives for 25, 30, 35 years. So he has some great stories. I mean, he's the godfather of recruiting in Louisiana.
We need to have him on this show. I have not had him on. I have not had Frank Wilson. I've had a lot of people on this show. I've never had him on this show. So yeah, maybe we'll have him on. But I like the format a lot. As you know, obviously, that's kind of what we do here. We do a longer format interview. It's, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's 40 minutes, sometimes it's over an hour. It just kind of depends on the guest and how much time they have and what we're talking about. But I love the long form interview. To me, there's just sometimes you just can't get out what you want to get out when you got time. You're always looking at the clock to watch. And when as long as you've done TV, you got a phone sitting right there when you're doing something, and you know exactly how much time you got to go. You got to get it out.
Yeah. And I also like to get the one-on-one conversations. I got Brian Kelly and John Summerall, the episode before. I got Archie before. When you get with some of those college coaches and there's like 15 media members in the room, and they want to break down the backup left guard. I don't have a lot of time for that in my life, sitting through that. So when I get Brian Kelly by myself, I can get the exact questions I want to know, the things that are important to me, being in this business for a long time. Listen, I understand everybody has a job, and everybody has to do their own stories, and, doing depth charts and backups is important to some people. But in my line of work, I don't need that. Everybody wants to talk about the stars.
Of course they do.
Yeah, and that's it. But so I got the Garland Gillen show. Garland on the Avenue is rip roaring as possible. And then I still have football food, which I've been writing for almost 10 years now, where I do football, soccer, and restaurants, and wrote one this week about how crazy is this, Jim, in the 2023 signing class quarterbacks. There was 5 quarterbacks that got a 5-star. Out of those 5 quarterbacks, only one still remains with the team he signed with in 2023. And I'm sure you know which quarterback that is.
Which quarterback signed out of the
2023 signing class, quarterback, 5-star, that there's only 1 out of 5 that still remain with the school he signed with. That was 2 years ago, and it's already down to 1 guy.
Well, I mean, Garrett Nussmeier has been here since before then, but you're talking about just here in Louisiana. You're talking about the Louisiana class.
No, I'm talking national recruiting.
Okay.
I can just give it to you. I don't want you to
just tell me. I mean, you're gonna make me fry my brain. I got my mind on Tyler Shough and Derek Carr.
So it's Arch Manning. So
duh. Yeah.
Yeah. No worries.
Duh.
Hey, you got a lot on your mind, but no, but
man,
the other four guys are Dante Moore and Nico. I half the time I get it right, half the time I get it wrong. There, he went from Tennessee to UCLA. One guy, Malachi Nelson.
I'm a Leva.
Malachi Nelson's actually transferred twice already. He went from USC, Boise State to UTEP now. That is a nasty one, right?
It's just a transfer machine. And, I want to have you on one day in the summer when we have some shows planned for the summer that they may not get a ton of views because we're going to be all over the place in the summer. But one of the things I want to talk about, because you follow in this area of all the media people, I think you're in tune with NIL and college football and college sports just in general as much as anyone. I would love to have a show just talking about NIL and your thoughts on what it's done. I mean, we're not going to do that today, but just your thoughts on what it's done to college football. And, as someone who follows it, I can sit here and have an explanation, or someone can tell me when I go play poker, I hate NIL, it's ruined the college game. Well, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, but I think it's definitely done good and bad. And one day we're going to have that discussion here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely changed the game and
changed the game for sure.
And it's also made high school football very competitive now. And
absolutely.
The fact that you can make $1 million, $1.5 million a year coming right out of high school. So those, I mean, I was at Edna Carr the other day, Jim, and there's like four dudes on that team that are probably all worth between like $500,000 a year when they sign with. Two are verbally committed to LSU. Possibly third is going to commit to LSU. They got a quarterback, John Johnson, whose nickname is Hollywood. He's committed to Liberty. So, I mean, yeah, you can set your family up really good coming out of high school just on what you do in high school, which is great for them. But the transfer portal, every time they open it up, 1,000 kids go in it, and it's wild.
Definitely wasn't like that when I was going to school way back in the time. Earl's picks. You're late. I hope you didn't miss anything juicy. You have not missed anything. You haven't missed anything juicy yet. I promise you. Real quick, your thoughts on Greg Popovich no longer. It's going to be weird. I mean, and I know he's kind of stepped away, so he's been gone for a little bit anyway. But the thought of Greg Popovich not being on a court side. Look, nobody here likes the Spurs. They've always been in our division. You battle with them, and they've usually got the best of us. But you got to have so much respect for a guy like Greg Popovich.
Yeah, been with the Spurs as a coach since 1996. Started as an assistant, and then just moved his way up. 5 NBA titles. Antonio Daniels, I saw posted on X that he's the greatest coach of all time.
He's up there.
He's up there, but I mean, you got Phil Jackson, and you got Red Auerbach, and you got Pat Riley. You got some other dudes in the mix there. Antonio Daniels was coached by Pop, so I understand.
Right. Yeah, he's biased, of course.
Yeah. He was, I will say this. I remember him for his 5 titles, but also in 2008, it was the Hornets then play against them in the Western Conference semifinals. And you've seen this with national interviews. He's extremely unpleasant to deal with media-wise. He feels like he doesn't have to give his time to us at all. So that made it a little difficult because I got to watch it up close how much of a pain in the butt he could be as media-wise. But, hey, he thought he won all these championships without the media, so he didn't care for us that often. So now he don't have to talk to the media ever again. So good luck on retirement. Or I guess he's going to the team back. He's going behind the scenes. He'll still with the team, but I guarantee his time talking to us will probably be done. All
the things I've covered throughout my career, I would say probably the NBA is probably the least of what I mean, I just haven't had to cover a lot of NBA. Now I've been there in the capacity of as a manager. Back when I was a manager, I used to go and be on scene in direct coverage a lot, but never as a writer. So, okay, I'll take your word for it. But
I was there for it all. Yeah.
I'm sure you were. All right, let's get to what most people have come here for this morning, and that's talking about Tyler Shough. And I was on the final bet last night. Thank you for having me on. And honored to be on the last final bet in the old studio, moving to the new studio this coming week. I know everyone inside that building was excited because y'all are all moving to the new studio next week, which is really just right down the street, but right across the street from our old building, which is now a golf facility. It's a Top Golf type place called 504. So anyway, we talked about this last night, and you asked me some questions that I thought I would turn around and ask you. I kind of know how you feel, but I'm interested to get your take on this because I'm pretty sure we have differing opinions on this. But who is the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints on September 7th, 2025? And why has everyone just dismissed that Derek Carr is not going to play for this team?
All right, so I'll answer your first question, which I think Tyler Shough is going to be the starting quarterback for the Black and Gold in September. Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier, the OC, Scott Tolzien, the quarterback coach, did a ton of research on this guy, had a lot of meals with him, did a lot of whiteboard work with him. He came to New Orleans as a top 30 visit before the draft. The coaching staff went up there to work with him before his pro day at Louisville. They've done a ton of research on this guy. Obviously, he's mature. I mean, that goes without saying since he's been in the college football game for 7 years. He'll be 26 years old in September. So this is a guy that they want. Okay, Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland, those guys gave Kellen Moore the quarterback that he wanted. This is very similar to the 2006. In one point is that Sean Payton was the head coach. He wanted his quarterback, and his quarterback was Drew Brees, so he got his quarterback. Obviously, different situations. Probably almost close to the same age, Drew Brees when he came here and Tyler Shough when he came here now. But in 2006, Sean Payton got his quarterback. And now in 2025, Kellen Moore has his quarterback in Tyler Shough. Derek Carr, first off, let's go to the offseason. Beginning in the offseason, he has to get traded. They didn't trade him. They restructured his contract.
Wait, first of all, how do we know that he has to get traded? How do we know that?
All I can go on is credible reporters that work at big organizations like Jeremy Fowler at ESPN. He came out with a report, and it was never disputed. Because I will say this, the Carr family is really good. When they don't like something reported, they will dispute it. So when Derek Carr in his church sermon disputed the injury stuff, he never disputed that that he wanted to trade this offseason. Now, he didn't do it this time, but he's had ample opportunity to shoot down that story, and he hasn't. And I think that Derek Carr and the family do a good job of talking through other intermediaries to shoot down stories. They never shot down the fact that he was trying to get traded this offseason. So all I can go on is media sources there that are trusted people. I mean, Jeremy Fowler is a pretty good reporter, so I'll roll with him. Diana Rossini, he took obviously some attacks at. She's a very credible reporter also. And then Ian Rappaport. I don't know who fed him the story that he was going to be out for the season, but obviously I don't think it came from the Saints. It came from somebody in the Carr camp that kind of maybe used Rap Sheet as a go-between to kind of push his message out there. Whatever it was dirty business, I think, to get that information out there that, hey, I might not play this season. I think it kind of puts the pressure all on the New Orleans Saints to kind of figure out the situation, which they did. I think Derek Carr has made it very clear he don't want to play for the Saints anymore. So what did the Saints do? They drafted Tyler Shough, number 40 overall. They have answered Derek Carr's call.
See, I don't know that I agree with that part. I don't know that it puts an onus on the Saints. I think maybe the Saints wanted to go in a different direction, and maybe the two after, maybe when they started to talk restructure, maybe Derek Carr didn't like that. And I'm just throwing possibilities out there because everyone is automatically, and I'm getting emails, I'm getting people, the Carr haters are jumping all over me, calling me a Carr apologist and everything. Not a Carr apologist. I think the way he's handled this has been awful. I think he's making himself look bad. Even if he's in the right and it's all the Saints throwing all this info, Derek Carr hasn't handled this well at all. I mean, going to church to just odd, weird. He's a weird dude, and it's a weird situation. So I'm not throwing apologies towards Derek Carr. But one thing is, I don't think no one has said where this info is coming from. And none of us know where the info is coming. I listened to my colleagues here at the Times-Picayune. They're all just assuming. Jeff Duncan knows as much about everything as anybody. And he's basically just assuming that it's Derek Carr's agent. I mean, he says almost quote. And that's one of the reasons why I was getting him on the show this morning. I'm sorry he couldn't be on here because I would have asked him. He says, I can almost guarantee you that that's coming from Derek Carr. We're just assuming that everything we hear from these reporters is A, right, and B, we're just assuming where it's coming from. I don't know why everybody just assumes that it couldn't come from the Saints. Maybe when they started talking to one another, the sides started talking to one another, maybe they kind of got into it, just like happens quite often in any business. Maybe they didn't want to say what's going on behind the scenes, and the Saints said, you know what? Maybe they knew more than they've been letting on and just threw it out there. I mean, and then they go out and draft their quarterback, and now it looks like everything's on Derek Carr. It does look like that, frankly, but we don't know the answers to this. So Derek Carr should be saying more than he's saying. He should be defending himself. Again, he's not handling this properly, but I'm just not sure that any of us know who is the real culprit, I guess is the right way to put it.
The other problem, Jim, that doesn't add up is the timeline of where this actual injury happened. David Carr says on NFL Network he injured it in the Giants game. Yeah. Well, then the last few weeks of the season, Darren Rizzi's coming out and saying that Derek Carr is throwing and he wanted to play. And then at the end of the season presser for Derek Carr, which every media outlet was in the locker room, including Madeline Adams for Fox 8. He said they asked him if he's going to get surgery this offseason. He goes, no, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be good. So if the injury happened in the Giants game and then he's throwing again at practice and he says he doesn't need any shoulder, or any kind of surgery, then all of a sudden a few months later, all of a sudden his arm is hurting now and he needs possible surgery. Like, the timeline is very murky between what the Carr camp is saying and what we, the media, have in interviews, because it was very clear that Rizzi made it known that Derek Carr was pushing hard to come back. Because if there was something wrong, Rizzi would have said, hey, he's got a shoulder injury. He suffered it in the Giants game, and we're shutting down the season. I agree with that part. So somebody isn't telling the truth. Somebody is definitely trying to weave a story to get what they want, and maybe that's to push themselves out of New Orleans to another team.
And look, that's exactly, and I encourage everyone to go listen to the latest Saints Insider Pod. They're going to have another one this afternoon, but the latest one that they did was on Wednesday afternoon, and I listened to a majority of it. My time got cut short, and I couldn't listen to the end of it, but that's exactly what they were talking about. When you listen through Duncan, and somebody wrote that Duncan has a column on what Louis Riddick said about Tyler Shough, and he does, and I also encourage people to go read it at NOLA.com/sports/Saints, but one of the things they're talking about is they're going through that same timeline. Okay. Just because David Carr is saying something, and he never said he heard it in the Giants game. He says, I think he heard it in the Giants game. If you go back and listen to what he said, Carr doesn't mention at all when he heard it. Okay. No. So you talk about who's telling the truth, and maybe they're both not telling. Maybe neither one of them are fully telling the truth. Maybe there's something truthful in there somewhere. There's a nugget of truth that we got to go in there. I mean, and I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Maybe this whole story is 90% true. Maybe it's 10% true. Maybe it's somewhere in between. But I don't think either side is telling the complete truth.
It is a messy situation. The Who Dat Nation has a major dislike for Derek Carr, and that will never
absolutely true.
That will never be improved. You could say
they're showing in the comment stream here that I'll talk about later.
Yeah. So the only way they can prove they win, but Jim, this team is not built to win this year. I mean, I'm not going to, you're going to talk about over under win total. I'm not going to. It's not high. I'm not going to mess up your segment. It's not high. It's not saying they're going to make the playoffs. Now, I know it's over under win totals and it's just betting and everything like that. But there's not a lot of optimism with this team to make the playoffs this year. So even if Carr comes back, it's a no-win situation when I think that you have a young coach, a new coaching staff. That's why I keep pushing for Tyler Shough, because I think the pressure's off. If they go 6-11 this year, they go 5-12. They can say, hey, we're building for the future where Tyler Shough is our guy. We're going to have a few bumps in the road, but we're going to build this roster inside, then go out. And they've done that with the offensive line. They got some young guys on the line that are going to protect Shough in the future. They got a running back that can kind of, in maybe in the long run, can replace Alvin Kamara because he only has a year or so left. So they're getting younger at some key spots on the roster. I think the defense is going to have to get much younger with DeMario and Cam and Tyron on the back end of their careers.
I think we saw that in this draft that they went way more defense than I expected them to go. Obviously, after the first two picks, they went defense. Not necessarily the positions some of us thought they would go, but that's the direction they went. And so, yeah, Garland, I think that you're right up there. But we got a couple of comments that I want to show here. There's a few things, and you can comment on them, or you can pass. But there's multiple ones on here. Hakeem, I'm going to start with you. A regular on this show, regular commenter on the show. He and I don't always see eye to eye, but very respectful, and I'm a big fan of Hakeem Batiste. Carr is intentional. He clearly, with his actions, is telling you he wants out. It's been explained by credible reporters like this gentleman just said. But here's my problem with all this. There is everyone interpreting everything, okay? You can I'm sure. I think part of the problem is, and it goes back to what I've said months ago, I think the majority of the local media here are also tired of Derek Carr. They're tired of the saga. Derek Carr is definitely not, he has not endeared himself to anyone here for the most part. That includes the people in the media. So it's kind of like with a lot of other things. We're human, right? I think the people who cover him on a regular basis are kind of tired of this whole thing. And I think in their minds, they would rather see someone else than Derek Carr. And I'm not talking about you, Garland. I'm talking about all of us together. Okay. I think at some point you get tired of reporting the same story over and over again. You just want something new for this team. You don't like the direction it's gone. Last year was really tough to cover for all of us. And I think just even if it's in the back of our minds and we don't mean to, I think there's just like the fans hate Carr. I don't necessarily think the local media hates a strong word, but I think we're all getting tired of the saga. And I think in the back of our minds, we might want someone else to start.
I think that's why there's maybe some excitement next week in this rookie mini camp, and we get to see Tyler Shough out there throwing to receivers. He's going to be with his running back. We're going to see Kelvin Banks Jr. out there. So I think the new story is starting here. The OTAs are right around the corner. Also, I think it's like new blood with the black and gold there. You get Kellen Moore out there. You're going to have Tyler Shough out there. So I think you can start spinning a new narrative of this is the black and gold. This is the new black and gold. Dennis Allen, any connections to the Sean Payton era, they're all gone. They're out of the building there. It's a new coaching staff with no connections to Sean Payton's tree. So you can start it next weekend. You want some kind of hope. You want some kind of excitement. And you get that when you bring in a quarterback like that. That puts a shock to the system. I mean, everybody's getting so fired up that he ate at Drago's. After getting
he's so much more endearing already. I mean, he got drafted a week ago. He's already endearing himself because he went to Drago's and he went and hit some shots at sidelines. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, no. You know what? The funny thing with the story with Drago's is, he's been here before. Okay, he came here for a top 30 visit. He's eaten in New Orleans before. This isn't. I assume this is one of the first meals he's had since he's been drafted by the Saints. But this wasn't the first meal he's ever had in New Orleans was Drago's. Okay, he's been here before on a Saints visit, so he spent time here before. So let's, it's kind of the story kind of moves around a little bit there. But yes. No hate toward Chipotle, but I'm going to say Drago's is a much better meal than Chipotle is. Depends how much time.
There ain't no question about that.
Yeah, yeah. Depends how much time you have in your day and how much you have in your wallet. Because obviously Chipotle is a lot cheaper than Drago's there. But the char-grilled oysters, Tommy Satanovich at the Zurich Classic, probably a combined 3-day stretch. I might have ate like 2 dozen of those things. So that's why I'm like working out every day to burn off some of those Drago's char-grilled oysters and a lot of that fried seafood. A lot of fried seafood.
We've been having our media fantasy baseball draft there for
the
past 8 to 10 years or so. Okay. And so look, I've been doing a lot of fantasy drafts throughout my 35, 36, whatever, however many years playing fantasy sports. Never have I had drafts, a better place to draft than Drago's. I'm just going to say that because, I'm with you. I like the oysters myself. Johnny Culpepper says, we all know Kellen Moore doesn't want Carr as his quarterback. How in the hell could any of us possibly know that?
No, we don't know that because from day one, Kellen Moore said only complimentary things about Derek Carr, including his first press conference, to when he was at the owners meetings in Palm Beach. So I think that Kellen Moore's smart. He always says the right things. I will say this. He talks in quick, 15-second sound bites, man. He gets in and out. He doesn't expound on things too long. It's a lot of coach talk. So, but I'll be intrigued to hear what he has to say next weekend after seeing Kelvin Banks and Tyler Shough out there. Because rookie minicamp is Thursday through Sunday, but the only day that the media are allowed there is the Saturday practice. So we'll get some kind of something going on. This week is kind of strange. I guess it's kind of on the sporting calendar. They're kind of letting us enjoy Jazz Fest and those kind of things, which I did yesterday. And, and then next week we kind of pick it back up again with rookie minicamp.
You went when it was dry. There's going to be some puddles and some muddiness out
there.
Yeah,
I went yesterday. We got this thing called the Jazz Fest Triathlon where we bike to Jazz Fest. We run around the track one time, and then we swim in Bayou St. John. I know every time I post something on social media, people joke that I need to get tetanus shots or that there's alligators and there's probably a dead body in a car at the bottom.
Well, they found one in Bayou St. John a couple of days ago. Oh, no, it wasn't by St. John. It was by the golf course.
Yeah, but I'm in and out of that water in 20 seconds. We jump right by Cabrini by the bridge, and I'm in and out pretty quickly. But it's pretty fun. The water was actually very warm yesterday, so yeah, I got to go see that. I got to see Better Than Ezra and Cage the Elephant and Santana. So it was a cool time. But but I'm always still thinking about sports. I mean, I've been reading up before going to the show for like the last hour and a half about what I missed and what's going on, and you talk about the transfer portal in NIL. Like we talked about LSU's over under win total of 8.5 on Final Bet last night. It is, you and I think it's absolutely crazy that it's that low, but LSU is in the mix to get the safety from Houston. He's coming to visit this weekend. Halsey's his last name, had 5 interceptions last year. He was all Big 12 first team. Yeah. If they get him, Jim, he is going to start right away. Like they've
already talked about LSU potentially having the number 1 haul in the portal already. We're getting just a little bit ahead of us. I know we're going to get to that in just a minute because I do want to talk about LSU for a minute.
Oh, you would? I didn't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, it's okay. No. I do want to talk about LSU, so it's okay that you said that.
No, I just
100% agree.
Yeah, we talked about over under win total, and I mean, if you get an AJ Halsey in there. Like, my goodness, like they're not going to be weak at any spot.
Yeah, now, spoiler alert, now's the time to bet that. I mean, because to me, there's no way that goes down. I mean, I think now's the time to bet that. I don't
8.5.
I don't tell people to go out and bet a lot of things in May about something for a football future, but I think now's the time to bet that. All right, another Saints comment here from Ryan Kuti. I'm going to ask you for a percentage in a minute, okay? But here's the least, in my opinion, Ryan. Well, I love you for being a part of the Dattitude family, but this is the least likely scenario for me. Carr's out, Shough will back up, Rattler starts in week 1, at least this year. But at the end of the day, we don't know what any of these players will do. Well, that part I agree with you. We don't know what any of these players will do. I think the least likely scenario is that Shough is on the bench, Rattler starts, and Carr's nowhere to be found. To me, of all the scenarios that are possible, that's the last one. So maybe that's the one that's going to happen.
Spencer Rattler was a Dennis Allen draftee.
Correct.
Now, I know that a lot of his receivers were down, a lot of players are hurt, but he still was 0-6 as a starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Everybody can get excited about his second half performance against the Commanders and how they almost won the game, but they didn't. In the NFL, there's a lot of games that go down to 3 points at the end of the contest. They didn't win. So, I don't want to hear about, how great he looked in 2 quarters of football. And I think that's actually Spencer Rattler's biggest problem. He can't put together 4 quarters. You could talk about how he balled out in the first half of one game, but then the second half he disappeared. Spencer Rattler is a 5th-round pick. Okay, he's a 5th-round pick, and I think he's a backup. That's what he's going to be, I think, for the rest of his career, a backup. I think there's a crazy obsession with the Saints fans with the backup. They love Teddy Bridgewater. They love Jameis Winston.
Teddy, I understand it. I understood Teddy Bridgewater.
There, and I will say this: as a starter, I think he was undefeated when Drew went down.
5-0.
But they love Jameis Winston. They just love.
Well, they love Jameis Winston later. Not so much. If you remember when Jameis Winston,
they didn't like him.
Well, right when it was he and Andy Dalton, and then Jameis got hurt. And people, I've had this argument on X. I mean, people have short memories. They did not. The majority. When I say they, I mean the majority. Obviously, not everybody. The majority of people were not Jameis Winston fans. They were clamoring for Andy Dalton to be the starter. And I had many a show when I was just railing on Andy Dalton, saying, "Please, for the love of Christ, put Jameis Winston back in there." That's a whole different story. Who Dat Daddy says Derek Carr is watching Dattitude now. Well, if that's true. If that's true, then Derek, let me know. You are obviously more than welcome to come on and give your side here on Dattitude. And you know what? I'll even turn the comments off because you probably wouldn't want to read them, is my guess. UBN says real quick, Shough went to Shuck Oysters. Isn't ironic?
Boy, here we go.
You know we're going to have that.
There's no way that Derek's watching the show right now. Him and his brother are doing a review on a Ferrari right now. Yeah.
That look, people say there have been people out there saying I'm a quote unquote Carr apologist, which is the furthest thing from the truth. And I will say this, that podcast is the toughest podcast I think I've ever tried to watch in my entire life. It is awful. It is. Y'all need to go somewhere else. Y'all need to do something else in the off season. You need to figure it out.
No one wants to see these two guys break down cars that we never have any chance of ever buying or even being around. I think you know what it is, Jim. They're looking for their next career. I mean, Derek knows he's at the end of his line. David Carr does work for NFL Network, but he's looking for another gig, and so they see Mr. Beast, I guess, doing all this big time numbers on YouTube.
Mr. Beast.
I know. As some people have second careers on social media, and I think that's what they were trying to achieve. And they're just not dynamic talents when it comes to personality and behind in front of the camera. So they're both very rich beyond their years being quarterbacks, so they're going to be just fine. But as car reviewers, not happening.
All right, I know you got a lot of other things to do, so we're going to move on. But you don't need to comment on the. I'm going to come back to comments when Garland has left us. So I promise we'll talk about this more. And to show you the difference of opinion, these are just two. UBN says, how do you watch Rattler for 6 games and say, yep, that's who I want to quarterback my team? And then Douglas Thornton says, you all underestimate Rattler. He played without starting players. He played with leftovers. Yet you credit a player that haven't taken a single pro snap. I'm not crediting Tyler Shough, not even a little. And if you think I'm crediting Tyler Shough, you haven't watched this show for the last week, because I ain't crediting Tyler Shough at all. That's a whole different story. Again, that we'll get into after Garland leaves us, because I do want to talk about over-unders here, Garland. We talked about this on your show last night. And Tulane is NA. I thought I'd be able to find them, but I went and searched, and I couldn't find them. So before we get to either one of the other two, what number would you put on? We talked about Tulane over-under last year, and I think we hit on that, right? So what number do you expect to come out? I kind of expect an 8.5 to come out here on Tulane.
I think the reason, well, first off, they only did the Power 4 conferences for
right now. They will come out with the rest of them in probably June.
Yeah. And so, but the problem is with Tulane, I can't give you a solid prediction right now, because I don't know who their quarterback is going to be.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's between Donovan Leary from Illinois. You got Caden Samanza from Ball State, and then you got Brendan Sullivan, who they just got in from Iowa. Sullivan and Samanza had starts at their previous stops in Iowa and Ball State. And then TJ Finley.
I was going to say, are we sure he's not coming back? Or
I'm not going to say that, because his once, if he gets cleared of the charges, then there's a chance that Tulane takes him back. Tulane cannot have him on the roster right now when he has with the allegations against him right now. There is a chance he comes back, so they might have 4 quarterbacks going into fall. The reason that TJ's in the portal is to protect himself, because you could always take yourself out of the portal.
Right.
But if they finally tell him to move on, he can at least has a chance to go somewhere else. But no, I'm not saying TJ's out.
Southeastern.
That could be a possibility. He has twin boys that are a year old that I think that'll live in Ponchatoula. So
that's where he's from.
Yeah. So there's a possibility there, but do not completely rule out Tulane. Getting back to the over-under win total, with so much cloudiness around who their quarterback is, and they have Northwestern, Duke, and Ole Miss in their schedule in September. I'm gonna put their over-under win total at 7.5.
Okay. And so again, we will give a better prediction. I'm sure this is something we'll talk about on Final Bet, probably end of June, somewhere in July. We'll talk about this, and I'll have you on the show. We'll talk about it as well. All right, LSU 8.5. Now, both of us think that I think of everything out there. I don't get this number, why it's so low. Again, I'm going to advocate that there's not a lot of things I throw out there and say, go bet it now. And by the way, this is all just fun and games. Don't blame me if you lose money or whatever. Now, that's not what this is about today. But of all the things that are out there, I think to me, this is there's no such thing as a sure thing, but LSU at over 8.5. And if for any other reason, Garland, we know that Brian Kelly he's taken this as serious as, and not that he doesn't take other seasons serious, but he is going into this season knowing we're going to win this year. We have got to win. I don't like that they're opening with Clemson. I know that this schedule's tougher than it was last year when you're talking about road and home and what they got to do in the SEC. I just don't see how this team doesn't win at least 9 games.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson in week 1 might be their toughest game on the schedule this year because they do go to Ole Miss and they go to Alabama, and Alabama's starting a new quarterback in Ty Simpson. Ole Miss is starting a new quarterback in Austin Simmons. So those are not as scary as going to those 2 places and having Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe as the starting quarterbacks. You get A&M in Baton Rouge. You get Florida in Baton Rouge. You're going to the road, Oklahoma, which
you don't know right now, really.
Right. I know they got a new quarterback in John Mateer they got from Washington State. I know Brent Venables is on the hot seat, the flaming hot seat. Like I think if they go like 7-5 or 6-6, they might fire Venables. But Clemson's their toughest game on the schedule, and Caesars has it as LSU as a +1.5. All the other books have it at +2.5. So if you're like looking for early odds, there's like a point differential between Caesars and like DraftKings and FanDuel. But yeah, I'm with you. LSU, I would take the over. Last year, I will preface this. Last year, the big 3 that we're talking about right now, I had the Saints go under, I had Tulane over, and I had LSU over. So I went 2-1. Okay, so that's if you're going to give me 66% betting, I'll take that every time. You could be a rich person if you hit on 2 of every 3 bets. So right now, I would go LSU over.
Charles Manga says, really? Clemson is beatable. Charles, I think you need to take a look at what's going on out there. I'm not saying everybody. First of all, every single team playing college football next year is beatable. So I'm not a fan of that word, beatable. It's like saying not to mention. Well, you just mentioned it. Everybody's beatable, Charles. But ESPN's early rankings and most of the early rankings I see have Clemson and LSU both in the top 10, but have Clemson above them. So ESPN has Clemson at number 7, LSU at number 8, and LSU's got to go on the road. I'm not a fan of they keep starting the season against these powerhouses or whatever, but Clemson is a powerhouse. That game's going to tell us a lot. And look, until Brian Kelly can win that first game, everybody talks about the last game. Until he can win that first game, I don't know. I think you got to make them the underdog right now, right?
Yeah, 2019. We keep talking about the last time they won their opener. It was against Georgia Southern. So since then, it's been games against Mississippi State. That UCLA on the road, 2 Florida State losses, and then USC. So these aren't easy opponents that they've had to face in these games. And they're going to play Clemson this year. Clemson comes to them next year. And then 2027, they're playing Houston at the University of Houston in Houston.
At least that's a little easier.
Yeah, it's a little easier. So so sooner or later they're going to get rid of these games, unless they're talking about the redoing the college football playoff format and bringing it to 14 teams, and then they're talking about taking 4 from the SEC, like guaranteed 4. So that might bring us to 9 conference games, and so maybe these like mega openers are going to go away because LSU is only going to have 3 openings and they go to 9 conference games. So watch for that. Watch for the college football playoff, how they're going to change the format, and that could decide if we get rid of these blockbuster games.
Garland Gillen here on the Dattitude podcast presented by Evangeline Securities this Friday morning. Garland, thanks for coming in on last minute notice. I really appreciate it. We're going to end with the Saints at 5.5, and I have no idea how you feel about this. This is not something I'm running to the window to bet. I told you that I don't advocate betting anything in May. First off, I don't think this number is not going to get any lower. So if you think the Saints going to win, someone talking about Saints trying to keep it positive, I love that. Keep it positive. If you think they're going to go to the playoffs, great. Now's the time to go bet that, because these numbers aren't getting any lower. But the odds makers currently think the Saints are the worst team in the NFL because they have the worst Super Bowl odds. Now, we haven't put that on here, but there's something, I think it's like plus 25,000, which means 250 to 1. You can bet $1 right now on the Saints to win the Super Bowl, if they win it, okay, that ain't happening. Whatever. If they win it, you would get $250. You get $2,500 off of a $10 bet. If some kind of miracle, the story of stories happens, Disney on Ice is all over again, whatever. But the odds makers aren't too high on the New Orleans Saints this year, Garland.
That's understandable, especially now that that it looks like Tyler Shough's to be the starting quarterback. I wouldn't mess with this line, this over-under, until I definitely have some clarity on what the heck's going on with Derek Carr. Like, I would not touch this thing right now. Like, I need to know what's going on with him at quarterback.
But here's the problem, though, Garland. If they mend their fences, and let's say 3 weeks from now they mend their fence, when's the mandatory minicamp? That's the third week of May? Is that when it is? It's coming. It's not too far away. But let's just say they mend their fences, okay? And Derek Carr is here when he's supposed to be here, and all of a sudden people are saying, oh, my God, I was wrong. Oh, my God, the experts were wrong. Jim Derry was right. Holy shit. That's a whole different story. If that really happens, you're going to see that number go immediately from 5.5 to bare minimum 6.5 and probably 7.5. So you have to kind of jump the gun. I mean, on bets like this, and you and I both know, you and I follow this as much as anyone around here, follow these numbers, and Zach Ewing, we follow these numbers. We watch them like a hawk. But don't you think that if they were to mend fences, that number would go up immediately?
Possibly. I mean, if you ask me right now, I mean, 6-11 in the NFC South is doable. I'm just gonna, I know we're gonna wrap up soon here. I'm just still gonna go on the record. Tyler Shough's the dude. Like, I know
okay.
you got some new people joining the show, so they can.
What's your percentage?
80%.
You made me give a
80.
percentage line. So 80 on Shough. What are your other 20? What's the other 20?
Okay. Well, I got to give myself a little out, so I'm gonna say 15 Rattler and 5 Carr.
Okay. So there's no chance it's no one else other than those three.
It's not. I'm not drinking the Hanerade. That's not going to happen.
I'm with you on those three.
I'm still intrigued to know if they're gonna bring in a veteran. If like Derek Carr they shut him down for the season or they trade him, they're gonna have to pick up a quarterback. I know that Teddy Bridgewater is actually available right now. So
if he doesn't want to coach high school,
yeah. Well, I mean, he almost got to go to a Super Bowl with Detroit last year.
Exactly.
So it wasn't a bad deal. I mean, he did win a state title last year in high school football. So, like, what else do you need to do? Like, he could probably rocket that into like a college.
That dude's just a winner. I'm sorry, that dude is just a winner.
Yeah,
Teddy Bridgewater's just a winner. That's why if he wants to come back to New Orleans and hang out here and do whatever. Come on, Teddy, you're more than welcome, pal.
He can maybe parlay that into like a NFL coaching job, So,
you're right.
So I think it behooves like Teddy to come back and making like $1 million veteran minimum ain't too bad either. So I'm sure it pays a little more than
being a high school football coach.
Yeah,
but definitely if you're going to coach at, well, I'm not going to mention any schools' names because I'll probably piss people off, and I want to do that here on the show. Any last words before we go off? This has been a fun discussion. And again, I said this Wednesday, Matt Moscona was way more vocal and way more basically telling me I'm an idiot without telling me I'm an idiot than you are. You're very nice to me here, Garland. I know you don't agree with a lot of the things that I've said, but look, that's what this show's about. We like having different opinions, and somebody's going to be right. Somebody's going to be wrong. Or you know what? Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe this offseason, I think we can both agree that this offseason has been one of the weirdest we've ever seen, and it's only halfway done. So who knows what's going to happen over the course of the next couple months.
Yeah, and we have the Pelicans lottery coming up in a week and a half. So we're going to know if like the Pelicans are getting Cooper Flag. Got the schedule released, which everybody kind of loves, and OTAs are going to be rolling here. We're going to be able to witness 3 OTA practices soon. So there's some other things going on. And you know what? You got a lot going on, like with Dattitude, and you're going on other shows. I know you're going Eric Asher and stuff. So, we'll keep pumping out the content. I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok at Garland Gillen. And then with the Garland Gillen Show, I'm putting those up on my YouTube channel, which is Garland Gillen Show. And that includes, I just put up your 2 segments on Final Bet. Those are on YouTube now. So You can go. So if your viewers are like, "Oh,
where can I find that?"
So just type in Garland Gillen Show on YouTube, and your 2 segments are on there right now. I'll put them up. So I don't have a lot of followers or subscribers at YouTube. I'm trying to work on that.
Stuff on. I don't know if you can share on YouTube. Like I would share that on my Dattitude.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put it up there. I'll send you. I'll put you a link out there and give you a holler. But so that's up there too. So we just keep on rolling. I got the food blog, I got the Garland Gillen Show, I got Girl on the Avenue. We just got to keep busy because you know what, Jim, and you know this. If you do multiple things and you do them well, maybe they won't get rid of you. So
I've been saying that for years, pal, and I've been fired 3 times since 2012. They keep bringing me back though, so I guess there's something to that. Something to that. They keep bringing me back, but I don't know. Garland Gillen is the busiest man on the planet and out there, and you know what that means? It means he's going to live till he's 100 because he just keeps going. He keeps going. He keeps going. And you said you got your boys running a track meet. This
City track meets are going down at St. Martin's today. I tell you one thing, for track and field parents out there, I feel you. I'll be out there for 6 hours this afternoon at St. Martin's. So I'm fired up for the Country Day Cajuns. This isn't as big as the boys varsity team winning state in Lake Charles, which had
basketball.
I get questions all the time. I know, Jim, you might have saw this. I mean, their roster is like just blockbuster country.
It is. It's crazy.
Corey Brewer's son, KV Brewer. You got Deuce McAllister's son, Curtis McAllister. You have James Borrego's son, the assistant coach of the Pelicans. His son's on the team. And then they had an 8th grader who was one of their best players named Reese Dilley. So
as if Mike McGuire needs any more help. I mean, because he hasn't won state championships before. He's just going to rack them up now.
No, and he's got a young roster. And then in 8th grade coming up is a young Sam Loomis. You might know that name.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
So they got a lot of fun connections, Pelican Saints with the Cajuns. So so that's the rest of my afternoon is, and I love going to these track meets, Jim, because I get to see who's gonna be the next like stars. Like there was 2 kids for John Curtis that were like in the 7th grade, and my goodness, I went up to them after the track meet and I wrote down their names on my iPhone. I'm like, "What's your name?" And now I'm following them on Instagram. I'm kind of keeping track of these guys. So I'm always
watch out for Ro Durancelet.
What's that?
Watch out for Ro Durancelet over there, Curtis. His dad's a very good friend of mine, so I'm just throwing that out there.
I did see him. Yes, he's the one that plays wide receiver. Yes, he's in 8th grade.
Does.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I talked to his father. So now I get to I never quit working. I took notes on some kids that are going to be studs in the next few years in track and field and football. So I'm always hustling.
Well, I talked to Mike McGuire a couple of weeks ago to Newman Country Day baseball game and congratulated him. And look, he's one of my favorite people in this business. Always been very helpful to me, but can't get enough Country Day Cajuns. I got VSN. I'll be out at Pope John Paul again this afternoon as I was yesterday. Pope John Paul playing Episcopal. So
dominant win yesterday, huh?
They had a kid throw a 1-hit shutout, and the people in the press box were pissed at me because I was talking about the no-hitter. As we went into the top of the 7th, I'm talking about the no-hitter. First pitch of the top of the 7th, base hit down the left field line, and they hate me out there, Garland. Like a lot of my followers here. They don't like me.
So you're not supposed to talk about it?
No, you can't talk about no hitters. You know how that goes.
But your job, Jim, as an announcer is to inform. But you're supposed to inform the viewer that history might be made.
It's all my fault, Garland. I gave up a lot of base hits in my time as a pitcher. Okay, but never have I given up a base hit from the press box. But apparently, I did yesterday. So
you got to inform your viewer. I'm with you on this one, Jim. That is not your fault. Okay, tell the people at PJP to calm down.
No, that was the Episcopal people.
Oh, the Episcopal people. I got you.
Oh no, PJP. You're right. I don't know.
Yeah, they won 8-0, right? Yeah, PJP.
8-0. We'll see what they win game 2. All right, Garland, thank you so much. I hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks for the invites on the final bet. Good luck with everything. And we'll be looking for you on YouTube, Garland on the Avenue, Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network as well. The man's crazy busy. And we'll see you soon, hopefully before we take a summer break here.
All right, Jim. Thank you, sir.
See you, bud. Garland Gillen, everybody. I want to get back to these comments in just a minute. But yeah, man, Garland stays busy. He stays busy. He is always doing something. I love it. I wish I had the energy to be as busy as Garland Gillen is. I try to stay as, look, I got a lot of stuff going on too, but not like that. So anyway, everybody go check out his YouTube page. Check him out on X as well. And we did a show not too long ago. We were both on Eric Asher's show, both at the same time. That was interesting. But I'm looking forward to we did the last show in the old studio. Can't wait to see what the new studio looks like. That'll be coming up soon. All right. I want to go back to some of these comments that I missed from before. We're not gonna talk too much about the Clemson stuff. I want to go back to some of the Rattler comments. And I'm okay. If you're a Rattler fan, great. I don't have any problems with Rattler fans. Ryan says I'm a Rattler fan and a Shough fan. Hope one of them takes us places. To me, if you're a Rattler fan and a Shough fan, because I don't know how anyone could be really a Shough fan this early. I mean, did you watch Louisville games last year? Were you like watching the Cardinals playing? I don't know. So, I mean, I guess what this says is you're just an anti-Carr dude, which I understand as well. You think it would be a good young competition in the quarterback room this year. My take on this is this. I'm going to take Carr out of the picture for a minute. By the way, as I go use a little my ADHD is kicking in. Jason Sykes, I don't even know if you're still here. My guess is you're not. This dude loves Carr. This is, and you regulars who are with me on almost every show, even the ones who are very anti-Carr. You know, I'm not pro-Carr. I'm not a Carr apologist. I'm using what I see as a reality. You may not see reality the same way. I'm not taking up for Carr. Again, I told you, I think the way he's handled this whole situation has been awful. I don't know that he could have handled it any worse. I mean, and when you come out and say something, you do it in a church. What the hell? Okay? Forget all that. But people see if there are people out there that absolutely hate someone, okay? You can't stand just the thought of someone, and the person you're watching is not as hateful as you are to that person, then that person's taken up for him. It's not how the world works. Just because you don't like somebody, it doesn't matter whether I like her or not. You got me all verklempt. I'm going to the coffee. Doesn't matter if I like Carr or not. I don't care one way or the other for Derek Carr. I got to be honest. If Derek Carr never plays another down for the Saints, I kind of don't care. And the only reason why I kind of care and want it to happen is just so I can say I told you so. And don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to say I told you so. And I'm not just saying this because I want to be able to say I told you so. I'm telling you this for 50 million reasons why he's going to come back and play. I don't care if he already got most of the money. That's not why. The Saints aren't going to just fly by and say, you know what, the hell with it. We're going to just waste this cap. Carr's not going to waste his 34-year-old season drinking Mai Tais unless he has to. You got to go with what makes sense. So back to Rattler and Carr and Shough. By the way, Lance, hello there. Who dat? Who dat daddy? Even though there's a Carr lover, please everyone hit the like button. No, thank you for that. See what I mean? You regulars know what I'm talking about. Not a Carr lover. Let's talk about you want to talk about reality again? Okay. Put your hate aside for a minute. Just for a minute. You can go back to hating him again. And I'll say a minute, make it a couple minutes. Go back to hate him. Let's talk about reality for a minute. Now, I know a lot of you don't care whether the Saints win or not next year. You just want Carr. If you had the choice, I would be willing to bet. I'm going to throw a poll up there. I don't do a lot of polls on YouTube, but I think I'm going to put a poll up there when the show's over. If you had the choice, okay, and look, maybe neither one happens. Who knows, okay? But I'm just going to ask this question out there because I'm telling you, I'm going to put a poll up there, and I want you to answer this question. If you had the choice of the Saints winning 11 games this year with Carr as your starting quarterback, which means he's probably the starting quarterback next year, okay? If you had the choice of the Saints winning 11 games with Carr as your quarterback for sure this year, in all 17 games, and the Saints go to the playoffs, or Tyler Shough or Spencer Rattler, either one, I don't care. Starting at quarterback for all 17 games, maybe a combination of the two. And the Saints go 5-12. What would you take? Now, that sounds like a really easy question to answer. Anyone with common sense would know how to answer that question. But there are some of you who just can't put your hate aside, not even for 2 minutes, and use common sense. I'd rather the Saints go 5-12, stink to high heaven, and if Tyler Shough sucks, we'll just go get Arch. Do you know how stupid that sounds? Do you know how big of a moron you have to be to want that? If you're a Saints fan, now if you're a Falcons fan, of course, what do you think if you gave Falcons fans the option? The Saints can go 11-6 with Derek Carr and make the playoffs and probably win the division. Or they can go 5-12 with Tyler Shough / Spencer Rattler starting. Well, now you're wanting the same thing the Falcons fans are wanting, dummy. Tell me how that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. Lance Dobart says if Derek Carr is back, it's only for a business decision. I don't doubt that at all. 100% agree. Unless he wins big, it will be a miserable season for him. Saints management staff and players, Tyrann Mathieu and Cam deserve better. Tyrann Mathieu and Cam, what do they deserve? They're fine. They'll be living in penthouses for the rest of their lives. They're for sure. Cam Jordan is going to go in the Hall of Fame, and we're going to have another Saints bust in Canton. Cam is going to be just fine, no matter who starts at quarterback this year. Any of them, whoever starts at quarterback, Cameron Jordan will be just fine. Chad Gage says, can someone explain this? I thought they said the Saints had one of the easiest schedules again this year, yet the schedule release date is not done. Please explain. Easy. It goes by winning percentage of your opponents. We already know the opponents. The Saints have, by winning percentage, have the second easiest schedule in the NFL. The easiest schedule in the NFL is the San Francisco 49ers. So that's the answer. May 14th is the release date of the schedule. Mally Mal says, it's Shough time. Earl's picks. He doesn't love Carr. He's just a realist. Thanks for someone having my back. Oh, boy. What else? Earl also says Carr, at this point, Carr is our best chance of winning. That's why I'm asking this question right now. It's a legitimate question. If you were the GM and you had a choice, okay? Carr, look, this is the question I'm putting out there. You're Mickey Loomis, okay? And you've been in talks with Derek Carr, and he says, I'm good to go. We're fine. I'll be out there at minicamp. I may not be able to throw at minicamp, but I'll be okay. I'll be ready for training camp. Let's go. Let's just don't talk about it. Media doesn't need to know, blah, 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 but you know. And then you as Mickey Loomis, okay, whoever you are, Lance, Barry, Ray, Barra, Brian Cavett, everybody, you have the decision. Who that, Daddy? You all have the decision. Hakeem Batiste, everybody. You all have the decision to make. You want 11 wins in the playoffs with Carr? Again, that would probably mean Carr again next year. Not definitely, but probably mean Carr again next year. Or Shough / Rattler, and you win 5. Barry says, in the end, we have no idea if Carr will play another down for the Saints. That's true. I'll give you my percentage in a minute if you didn't see Final Bet last night. Barry Ulay says, give me the 12 wins. I said 11, but okay, you can get 12 wins. Maybe they win 1 in the playoffs. Ray Barra says, if Rattler balls out and wins the job, so be it. Saying I told you so about Carr screams you want him. I do want him. You know why? Because of what I just told you. The only chance the Saints have to win next year, the only one. There is one chance. The only chance the Saints have to win next year, win more than they lose, is they have Derek Carr as the quarterback. That's not because I like Derek Carr or I want this charade to keep going on or this saga and this crap or to be right or whatever. Again, I'm telling you, reality / common sense dictates the only way this team has a chance to win, whether you like Derek Carr, whether you don't care one way or the other Derek Carr, or whether you can't stand Derek Carr and hope he never plays football again, especially for your team. The only thing that makes sense is the only chance the Saints have to win next year is if Derek Carr is playing quarterback. You don't have to like it. It's the truth. If Tyler Shough or Spencer Rattler starts for this team next year, the Saints have 0.1% chance to win more than 8 games. And that's being nice. You might as well, and again, I know some of you want that. Oh, we'll lose on purpose. You numbnuts who want the Saints to lose on purpose, you're just not being real vocal right now. That's all. Here's one. Who dat daddy? You don't think they exist? This is how much hatred there is for this dude. I'll take 5-12, and my wife calls me stupid all the time. I too, that daddy. And it ain't because of Derek Carr. That makes 0 sense. You hate this dude so much, you would probably rather your team go 0-17 next year and live through that shit every damn Sunday just to not see a Derek Carr go play football. It doesn't make sense. Barry says, give me 11 wins. Phil, Carr without a doubt. At least not everybody's dumb. Brian, Arch Manning won't be in the draft till 2027, so they want 2 years of misery. It's not even about Arch. It's not just about it. They don't care. They're just using Arch as the placeholder. When they say they want Arch, they don't care if it's Arch. They just want someone else. I don't know how old we're going to get. Our last word today is going to be on something that happened 47 years ago. And the number one show at that time was MASH. How many of you are old enough to remember watching MASH? Okay, I've watched every episode probably 8 times. There's an episode where Hawkeye is tired of eating the same thing, and he says, I want something else. I've eaten a river of liver and an ocean of fish. And then they start chanting, we want something else. We want something else. Arch Manning represents something else. Tyler Shough is just a placeholder. People are in love with Tyler Shough right now because they hate Derek Carr, and he's not Derek Carr. And they're realistic enough to realize that Spencer Rattler isn't the answer. And so if Spencer Rattler isn't the answer, at least that's Tyler Shough we can hang our hat on. That could have been anybody. That could have been Dylan Gabriel in the 4th round. They'd be hanging their hat on that today. It's not Tyler Shough that they like. People say Tyler Shough's going to be good. They don't think Tyler Shough's going to be good. He's just not Derek Carr. Chad Gage says, easy decision. It's Carr. Mal talking about Cam Jordan and Tyrann Mathieu. No need to pity these guys. They're living their dream 100%. Whether they go 0-17, they will. That's not the way that Cam Jordan wants to go out. But he'll be just fine if they do go 0-17 with Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shough or 3-14 or 5-12 or whatever. Ryan says, I don't hate Carr. Hell, if he could get us 11 wins, I'll take that. I just think he's already shit the bed with fans in the organization for multiple reasons, but his shoulder situation was the last straw. I understand that, Ryan. Again, all of you people that hate Derek Carr, I get it. I'm not telling you shouldn't hate Derek Carr, or hate's a strong word. I'm not a fan of the word hate. How about strongly dislike? Okay. You can't stand the thought of watching that dude come play quarterback. I understand it. I don't agree with you, again, because I want this team to win. I understand it, but can we at least have common sense and reality? The fact that we have one, and I'm not, there are more comments. There are more comments here. I'm going to get to them. But the fact that there's already been at least one person who says they would rather lose with someone other than Derek Carr just goes to show you the contempt. That's the word I'm looking for. Walt Crawford says, I would like to see Carr or Rattler start and give Shough time to adjust to the NFL. How long are you going to get time? Look, here's another thing they were talking about in the Insider podcast, and my good friend Zach Ewing talking about, oh, the age doesn't matter. What if he doesn't start for 2 years? Does the age not matter then? Then he'll be 28 when he maybe gets a chance to start. The age doesn't matter if he's going to start right away. So they're assuming Shough's going to start. I'm telling you right now, the Saints Insider podcast is just an icon of what everyone in the local, and I mean, I don't use the word everyone lightly. As a guy who spent, I don't know, what was it, 13 years of my career on a copy desk or however long it was, I don't use words like that lightly, okay? When I say everyone in local media expects either Shough or Rattler, there are probably a couple who think Rattler's going to start. But I bet if you polled the 26 members of the media who always give their answer on how many wins, what's the Saints record going to be, if you polled those 26 people, I'd be willing to bet you get 22 Shoughs and you get 4 Rattlers or 4 Rattlers / someone other than Derek Carr. None of them think Derek Carr's starting. None of them. And Jeff Duncan doesn't ask me what I think their Saints record's going to be, so I'm not in there. I said last night and this isn't, again, not apologizing for Derek Carr. I'm not saying Derek Carr is in the right, but I'm also not saying we don't know what the Saints know, have known, do know. You can't take anything from anyone's reports. I'm sorry. Because whenever you read a report, that's from one side, okay? The only sides I've heard say anything, except for the little bit that Carr is saying in church, when he says that the Saints have known all along and the Saints are basically not saying anything, but then you hear these rumors from someone inside the Saints organization. We don't know who said what, okay? I don't care if it's my best friend who's been in the business for 40 years. I don't think anybody knows anything about this situation right now. I just don't. And I'm not going to believe any of this crap until we see what happens when we get to training camp. Then we'll start having a better, even mandatory minicamp coming up later on. I don't know if we're going to know. Give me a little bit. Charles Manga says, if Carr can get 11 wins, I'll say yes, but it will not happen. How do you know? How the hell do you know? I can tell you this. It's definitely not happening if he doesn't play. I would rather see Derek Carr. And look, I'm trying to pull myself from the reporter part of this, okay? I'll change the question. Okay? Well, let me answer. Before I change the question, let me show some of these. Mally Mal says, Mickey Loomis should have had clarity on this quarterback situation. He's a horrible GM. I'm not necessarily saying he's a horrible GM, but 100% you're right about it. He should have had clarity on this quarterback situation by now. If he didn't know, it's his fault. If the Saints didn't know, it's their fault. Not Carr's. It's the Saints' fault. And everyone's giving the Saints a pass. Just telling you. Ray, I used to think that the team won't play him. We all know. Bullshit. If Derek Carr says, I want to play football, he'll be here and he'll be starting. I don't care. Mickey let a cat out of the bag when he said there's going to be a competition. Mickey ain't let Jack out of the bag. You don't think he said certain things on purpose? He let a cat out of the bag. My ass. Truth serum. Give Mickey Loomis truth serum and force him to answer the question. I promise you, he wants Derek Carr in there. And I disagree with everyone that Kellen Moore doesn't want Carr to start because of the same thing that I've been saying. Kellen Moore wants Derek Carr to start because he knows it's the only chance he has to win in his rookie season. You think Derek Carr wants to lose in his rookie season? Kellen Moore wants to lose in his rookie season? No. I get it. You don't like him, Who Dat Daddy. He's a traveling snake oil salesman as far as he's concerned. I get it. Nola says, Carr wasn't going to play at all this year. I will root as hard as I can for whoever the quarterback happens to be. Despite Carr's contract, I wouldn't want him to start. I said this in the last stream. Yeah, you did. You wouldn't want him to start. That means that's your way of saying you'd rather the Saints go 5-12 with someone other than Derek Carr. even though you say you'll root as hard as you can for whoever the quarterback happens to be. Lance, problem is Carr hasn't shown us he can win here. Yes, he has. They won 5 games last year. They were all with him at quarterback. He won the first 2 games of the year easily. He put him in position to beat Philadelphia and Atlanta, and the Saints defense lost both of those games. They should have been 4-0. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I get it. I don't want to hear that. It's not true. Simply not true. Now, God forbid a fan wants their team to win. People are insane these days. I don't think they're actual football fans, just fans on paper. No, they just have that much of a hate for someone. Here you go. Jason Sykes. I don't want to win with a bum and bruh. I tell my kids to stop saying that. Bruh. Wake up. You can't see it. You shouldn't be in sports media. He will retire before he plays here. Want to bet? You won't come back and tell me I was right when I am right. Earl's picks. Come on, Shough might be good enough and win 9. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell a rookie quarterback comes in on this team. Rookie quarterbacks have tough times winning anyway. A rookie quarterback ain't coming in on this team and winning 9 games. And I'll mark this spot 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 38 seconds on May the 2nd. Somebody take a note. I will cut this out and play it back, and I'll pull my crow po' boy out of there, and I'll eat it in front of you if I'm wrong. Tyler Shough ain't winning 9 games. Not with this team. Who that daddy says, I don't want to win with that cancer in the building. That's what he is. That's your opinion. Chad Gage. Why do rat lovers use the injuries excuse, yet Carr faced the same circumstances? Amen. Because Rattler ain't Carr. We saw what Carr did in the first 2 games, the only chance for wins. Amen. They forget that. Oh, Rattler's a rookie. Just because he throws to his first read every time, and then when the other team makes adjustments, he gets his ass kicked in the second half. Give me a break. KC Paul. I'm not a Carr fan, but I'm rooting for him to fail. But rooting for him to fail is like rooting for the pilot to fail who's flying the plane you're on. I'm a Saints fan first. Amen. Barry says the only upside to the Saints going 5-12 is he'll be able to afford to take his whole family to a home game. My family don't want to go to a home game. PBM says Carr. Come on, my mouse is playing tricks with me again. Carr has never been a cancer. He's always been the consummate professional and great leader and teammate. Oh, man, now you're going to piss people off. Yes, Brian Cavett, Adam's ribs. That's you're old like me. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They order Adam's ribs from Chicago, 100%. I'm way behind. I got to start moving on because we can't be here all day long. Let's see. Lewis Jacobs said, I don't know if I've answered, if I put a comment from you up there or not. The people that want Rat and Shough must be on battery acid. Oh, man. Saint for life's here. Who dat? Carr paid this dude. No, but if he wants to pay me, I'm all good. I'll take it. I'll take his money because you can't have a different opinion than you without having to be paid for it. That's what I'm talking about. You can't have a different opinion from, that doesn't make any sense. So how could anyone say Derek Carr would be a better quarterback than Tyler Shough or Spencer Rattler? Oh, boy. I got about 10 more minutes worth of comments to show here. And then we're going back in time 47 years when the Saints sucked too. They sucked back then too. However, they were about to have, I think, their best season ever at the time, back 47 years ago. But first, we told you earlier we'll let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family run a privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it, you ask? Thanks for asking. Well, after their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ronnie Melton, the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family, whether their name is Carr, Shough, Rattler, or something else. Doesn't make a difference. They'll treat you all the same. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed, ready to serve you with offices on both Poydras Street and in Lafayette. Get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It isn't any of those things, and it isn't what you would rather see, even if you would rather see a loser. No, what's really important, not the New Orleans Saints and what they do in 2025. What's really important is the rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelisecurities.com. Yes, we will have a man versus a machine today, even though Gabe isn't here. PBM says, I'm the only podcaster that talks fairly about Carr. You know, I'd probably have much better numbers, okay? Because let's be honest. I mean, that's a very close friend of mine that I love dearly got mad at me for, not mad, probably not the right word, but had something to say about me saying we do things for clicks, okay? Now, I don't do things for clicks, but at the same time, I do monitor how many people watch this show on a daily basis, and, you know, I take, you know, input from my bosses on things that we should do, and trust me, I tell you the way that I think it is every show. I would probably have more views on a regular basis if I was like everybody else and said, Carr's a bum. He sucks. I can't wait till they get rid of him. I'd rather see Tyler Shough start. What a great pick. Fantastic draft. Wonderful. Blow smoke up there, Keisters. Oh, I love Spencer Rattler too. I hope he gets a fair shake. I can't wait for the quarterback competition. All this crap that all these people are spewing, okay? The Fanboy podcast and everybody else. I would have more views on this show, I promise you. Right now, they're going down because people don't like what I'm saying. But that's not how I roll. I tell you the way I think. I'm not doing it so I can be different, because I got to say, the more I go along with this thing, the more I'm like even more, I'm not listening to the crowd. I told you I would give you a percentage. I give you the same one, and I didn't give it earlier. So here's my percentages on who starts at quarterback before I get to more comments. I think it's 5% chance it's someone other than 3 people that are currently on the roster. And I'm not talking about the rookie they just signed, undrafted rookie or whatever. I think it's a 5% chance it's not Carr, Shough, or Rattler. I think there's a 5% chance that it is Spencer Rattler. That's right, 5%. That's it. And this is barring injuries, by the way. And I don't mean, and I'm not including the injury that Carr may or may not have right now. I'm talking about any further injuries. I don't think there's hardly zero chance that Rattler's going to come in and get this job. They didn't draft Tyler. If Carr can't play, it's going to be Shough. Okay? And the reason why is because they didn't take this dude at the 40th pick to sit the bench behind a 5th rounder drafted by another coach. Just realistically, it doesn't happen that way. Rattler might be better than Shough. I have no idea. They can play it out, but Shough is going to have every opportunity. Shough would have to really suck, okay? He would have to be really bad and like clearly lose the quarterback race. Clearly not ready to start for Rattler to beat him. So that's why I have 5% someone else, 5% Rattler. I think there's a 30% chance it's Tyler Shough. So basically a third. But I'm sticking with it. I think there's a 60% chance. And I know that everyone's saying 0, 5, 10%, whatever they're saying. I haven't heard anyone say over 10% yet. That's not why I'm saying this. Common sense, salary cap issues, what the team wants. Kellen Moore wants to win. Kellen Moore is smart enough to know he ain't going to win with Tyler Shough or Spencer Rattler. He wants to win. Mickey Loomis wants to win. You hate Mickey Loomis all you want, but he wants to win. It's going to be Derek Carr if they can mend fences. Maybe they can. Maybe they can't. Maybe they can't mend their fences. And you know what's going to happen? He's not getting traded. I mean, anything's possible, so I'm not going to say 0.0% chance. But they're not going to get anything for him, and they're not going to just eat his contract and let him play for somebody else. Not going to happen. So you're talking about if Derek Carr wants to play, he's almost certainly going to be able to. And if he comes back, he's going to start. And it doesn't make sense for a guy who's 34 years old to say, you know what? I'll just sit this one out and skip my 34 years. You only get so many of these. You only get so many opportunities in the NFL. Not only that, if he does sit out and says, I can't play because of my shoulder, who's going to want him at 35? Somebody else going to want him at 35? The only chance he has to extend his career in this league, not with the Saints, that's going to get cut off very soon. You'll all get your way one way or the other, whether it's this year or soon. You're all going to get your way. He'll be gone soon enough. Well, maybe not soon enough for some of you. But the only chance that Derek Carr has to extend his career and be a starter again, and realistically, at age 35 next year or 36 the year after, whatever it is to come and prove himself again with the Saints. So, Saints fans don't want him. Saints don't care if you want him or not. The Saints want him. Saints don't want him. Yes, they do. They want to win. This hypothetical that I'm throwing out there is just for fun. I can tell you what the Saints would pick. Saint for Life says, I don't understand why someone from the Saints just can't be upfront about the situation instead of being quiet for weeks and months at a time. These people don't care about the fan base at all. That's my point. All these people saying they're never going to let him start. They don't want him here. The Saints fans don't want him. They'll boo him till whenever. They don't care if you boo. They've proven that before. As much as y'all dislike Derek Carr, I'm pretty sure most people dislike Dennis Allen almost as much. They didn't care what you thought about Dennis Allen. He'd still be here if Miss Gale didn't step in and say, he's gone. Get rid of him. Just saying. Earl said it. Carr's healthy, starting. I'm trying to tell y'all that, and y'all don't want to listen. We got to get going. I got to catch up here. I know I'm way behind still. I'm assuming you mean I'm a joke. Then adios. I'm not going to ban you. You come back and say whatever you want. That's the difference between my show and other shows. I'll let you say what you want here, as long as you don't get nasty. You love your city. I didn't say you don't love your city. But you don't get where I'm coming from. You hate the dude so much you can't face reality. You don't want to see reality. Gerard Semino, just ask yourself, what makes sense? What makes sense to you, and what makes sense to a man who's been running a team in the National Football League for 20 years are completely different things. I promise you. UBN. I haven't used the term Nudats in a while. It's been the greatest offseason ever for those true Whodats from the New Orleans. Spoken from someone who can care less about the Saints. We're pure entertainment. Whodat Daddy. We don't agree, but he loves my honesty. Why can't we talk to each other? By the way, when you start calling me out with disrespect, I'm not going to ban you. I'm just not going to show your comments anymore, probably. But if you want to just move on and if you want to live your life and hate and let the hate build up, then that's on you. Whodat's daddy says 50-50 Shough Rattler. 0. I love you, man. But there's no way it's 50% chance it's Rattler. Even if somebody told me tomorrow and I had proof in front of me, and Derek Carr says, I'll let you in on a little secret. You've been the nicest one of all the media people to me. That ain't happening, but whatever. I'll tell you off the record that I'm not playing for the Saints next year. I would tell you right now, no way would I say 50% Rattler. No way. My friend James Summerlin and former colleague says, I agree that Carr gives the Saints the best chance to win, but I don't really think Carr wants to be there. James, if you're faced with the possibility, here's your options if you're Derek Carr. And these are real options. This isn't hypotheticals. These are your real options. Your real options are you get over it, you mend your fences, and you come back and you play and you start. And you do, obviously. If this team stinks, you are certainly risking a chance of being sent to the bench. That is 100% a possibility. If he comes back and this team stinks, Yes, there's a chance Tyler Shough at some point in the middle of the season takes over. I don't think it would happen, but it's possible. If this team is as bad as the odds makers think they're going to be, they don't think Carr's coming back, but they thought the Saints were drafting a quarterback in the first round and got that one way wrong. So I don't care what the odds say right now in May. But if your possibilities, okay, you have this in front of you as a 34-year-old quarterback, you can either mend your fences, go back and play for this team where the fans, majority of the fans, they're going to boo the hell out of you. Whatever that first day is, they introduce the offense. Your ass is getting booed, and loudly. People might just buy tickets just to go so they can boo your ass. That's how bad he's disliked. But if your option is either to play under those circumstances in your 34-year-old season or sit at home, don't play, waste one of the last few seasons you got left in you, because let's be honest, when you're that age, there aren't a whole lot of quarterbacks that make it past 37, 38. So how many seasons you got left? 3, 4 maybe? You're going to waste one of them sitting at home in California? Nope. Don't see it. Mally Mouse says, what if Carr does one out? Then what? Then he sits at home and does then that's one of the options. That's what he does. If he doesn't want to be here and he says, I'd rather sit home and do nothing than play my 34-year-old season, then that's on him. Because he certainly can do that. He can have a doctor come out and say, I don't care if his shoulder's not hurt at all. I don't care if it's a bunch of crap. I'm sure he can find a doctor that will show the Saints, I can't play and I'm hurt. Just saying. KD Brown, salute for not banning those who disagree respectfully. I'm not even gonna ban you if you disagree disrespectfully, like the guy I was talking about before, Jason, whatever his name is. He was not being respectful. As long as you don't get crude, probably not going to ban you. Well, Gabe does sometimes when he's here. He bans people sometimes. This is whoever runs Nick Underhill's channel bans any comment that isn't positive. That's not how we roll here. But see, we take comments from everybody. We don't pick and choose comments before a show. I'm not knocking Nick at all, because look, a lot of people don't take any comments at all. They don't take any questions or comments at all. I actually praise Nick for doing that. I'm just saying the way we roll here is different than a lot of other people do. We don't tape our shows. I don't tape segments unless the only way I can get someone is to tape a segment. That's the only time I ever tape segments. Jason, no hard feelings. There you go. Okay. I don't have any hard feelings. None taken. No hard feelings. You have the right to come on. Again, as long as you're not crude, you can say whatever you want. You can disagree with me whatever way you want. I'm going to show it. We're going to talk about it. And I'll just tell you why I'm wrong. Brian Russell. So I think Carr will start. So if thought is that he lied, then he ain't coming back. He is too righteous for that. Did he lie is the question. He says, I'm not saying he's not telling the truth or telling the truth. I have no idea. I don't know why he has a reason to lie, Brian. But he says that he's let the Saints in on his situation from the get-go, from whenever it happened, whatever it is. He said the Saints have known all along. Why would you lie about that? Now, maybe he is. But the Saints ain't saying anything either. So why did they get a pass? Why did they get a pass? I don't understand why they get a pass. Jason, you didn't mean disrespectful. We're good. Promise you. He says he had an MRI to prove it. Okay. I don't know who to believe is part of the problem, okay? Again, I'm not being an apologist for Derek Carr. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I think the way he's handled this, no matter what comes out, no matter what the truth is in the end, that we probably never know the full truth. No matter what it is, he's handled this awfully. Both sides have handled this awfully. We can sit here. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, going forward. We're going to talk about it plenty. I mean, I got to say, I don't necessarily want to talk about this. When I was thinking about last night, when I was sitting here thinking about the show, and I usually make my title slide the night before, And what are we going to talk about? I'm like, I don't want to talk about this again. And I start thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to wake up in the morning. And it's what people want to talk about. So we'll probably be talking about it again next week. Brian says Loomis shouldn't get a pass either. 100%. And Mally Mal here, look. Mally Mal says Gail Benson is a bad owner because she is letting Mickey mess up this team with constant stupid decisions. I'm going to say this, okay? Gail Benson is doing what most good owners do. For better or worse, whoever your general manager is, you put the onus, the responsibility, and the trust on that person. And that's what Gail Benson has done. So has Mickey made great decisions? I mean, I think some things Mickey's done have been good. I think this whole Derek Carr fiasco, I got to be honest. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but they could have found ways to part with Derek Carr before now. And I was 100%. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I was advocating for them to redo this deal, okay, to restructure this contract. A month ago, or 2 months ago, whenever it was, I was sitting here in front of you telling you I thought they should restructure this contract. But that's before I knew what we know now. Had I known how this saga was going to play out, I might have felt different. Just eat the $50 million. So I'm not saying Mickey's done a good job with this situation because neither side has done a good situation. However, you know, everybody wants to give credit to Jeff Ireland when they think they have good drafts and blame Mickey when they have bad ones. Can't do that. You either give credit to Mickey or for the good and the bad. So I think there's a lot of things that Mickey's done well. I think he was put in a tough situation when Sean Payton just walked out the door and shocked the hell out of everybody. And I think that when Sean was here, I think it was a very good collaboration between those two. So there have been really good things he's done and not so good things he's done. So I don't necessarily agree but I can tell you Gail Benson trusts Mickey Loomis. Who that daddy says, what's taking so long? I don't know, man. Player gets hurt in a game, MRI is done the next day, and then we know a surgery is needing. What are we waiting on, Christmas? That goes to show that neither side is telling the full story. That's why I'm telling you, I'm not taking up a Derek Carr. That's a great question. I have no idea what's taking so long. He said he's got an MRI already. Go get another one. Put it out there on your YouTube page. Put it on your YouTube, your podcast that you want people to come watch that no one's watching. And I mean, no one. I've told you this before. I'm not necessarily proud of it, but I do think it's kind of funny that this show averages more views this year across our platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and our audio podcast. We get more views, average more, way more than Derek Carr's got on his podcast thus far on YouTube. Way more. Jason says the timeline doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. Brian says no one is one. Dude, have you watched it? It's bad, man. Like, you should go watch it just for, like, I'm not telling you to go watch the whole thing. Pick the one where they're sitting, where they're talking about, it was the first one where they sat together and talked, whatever. Not the Rolls Royce one. That one's just, I don't advocate anyone to go waste time in their life. But I'm telling you, for comedic reasons only, go watch it. It's funny. It's cringy funny. Like, you're like, oh, bad. All right, we're going to move on. You got about 5 minutes to get a comment, maybe less, because I'm going to move on. I'm going to do the man versus machine. Can't skip it. Man one. I'm going to come back to Saints for just a couple minutes. Again, your last chance to get a Saints comment is right now. And then because after that, I'm going to come back to Saints for like 2-3 minutes, and then we're going to have the last word. Man versus the machine. Man won. Is it Cunningham over however many points? Whatever it was. Man won, machine lost. Man's 4-6, machine is 6-4. Hooray! It's getting closer. I am the man today, and I'm going to play the role of Joe Q. Whatever. I am the common. I am a super common man today, taking this pick. Warriors. I guarantee you the Sharps are not on this. The Sharps probably have Rockets +5 in Game 6 tonight. I just think that Steph's going to come out. The Warriors have played obviously much better in the playoffs at home. They kind of like half-assed it in Game 5. Not that I watched a whole lot of it. By doing my research, I think the Warriors finish it off and win big in this Game 6. The Rockets have made great strides coming from nowhere. I think the Warriors win. And I think they win big. So Warriors -5 over the Rockets in Game 6. What does the machine say? Oh, boy. The machine says, I think the Warriors are likely to cover the -5 spread. Their veteran core home advantage and motivation to avoid a Game 7 should lead to a focused effort. Expect Steph Curry to respond with a big game, more than 26 points. And the Warriors defense to limit Houston's role players who overperformed in Game 5. Houston's zone and Sengun's interior play could keep it competitive early, but Golden State's experience in closing out games 4-0 in prior playoff series versus Houston gives them the edge. A 6 to 10 point win, like 105-99 or 110-100, feels realistic, which would cover the 5-point spread. So man and machine are both together with their Friday pick. Sorry if I screw it up again, Gabe. Warriors -5 over the Rockets in Game 6. What are our final comments of the morning/afternoon? Louis, you got way too long of a comment. Carr can't even play an entire season, much less win 10 games. And then a lot of other stuff. I'm going to tell you this. Horse hockey. Before last year, he hardly ever missed games because of an injury. And I don't believe he's missing games because of an injury now. That's my thoughts. Gerard Simino, if you have trouble sleeping at night, just watch Carr's podcast. Brian Russell says, I can't do it. I tried to watch David Carr and Sons in the basement thing when Derek first came to Saints. I'll pass. Charles has errands to run. Great show again. Thank you, Charles, and thank you for being a member of the Dattitude family. Casey Powell says, as long as they're winning, he doesn't care who the quarterback is. Yeah, I never got to ask that second hypothetical. I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to ask a hypothetical on my Who Dat page at some point. Who Dat Daddy says, come on, Mouse. There it is. If y'all go watch Carr's podcast, remember to hit the thumbs down button. Now, why? Come on. Look, as a guy who has his own podcast, I don't do thumbs down on anybody. I'm just saying. I don't want anybody to do thumbs down on me. It's kind of like, remember last year when I had trouble advocating for Dennis Allen to be fired, and before last year? I mean, I had to because it was the only real answer, and he'll be way more okay than I was when I got fired. But as a person who's been fired 3 times since 2012 and then been brought back, man, I have a hard time advocating for anyone to be fired. So I have a hard time for the thumbs down button on anyone. I don't know if I've ever used the thumbs down button. I don't think, again, you got to do what you got to do, my friend. I hear you. Lance says he loves the show. Well, we love you back, man. Again, we don't have to agree. We love you back. Who Dat Daddy? Maybe I can get AI to do the Walter Cronkite sound. And today is May the 2nd, 2025. I know that's terrible. That's the best I can do. Brian, you want to use horse hockey? It's all yours. I stole it from MASH. There's a lot of MASH talk today because I'm not done with MASH today. Last 2 comments of the day. Last 3 comments. I'll show Ryan. You're a member of the family, so I've shown a couple of your comments today, but I'll show this one. 3 more comments, and I'm going, and we're going to have the last word. Don't leave yet. You want to hear the last word, especially if you're a native New Orleanian or if you lived here 47 years ago, or even if you didn't. 4 more comments. Ryan Ashe. Carr is a low-leverage stat compiler that's rarely shown he can put this team on his back when it's needed. We rush for 250-plus yards and keep Carr's pass attempts around 20 like we did in weeks 1 and 2. He'll win 10-plus games. That's a lot to ask. Come on, man. Sigh. UBN. Jim has Derek Carr's PJs, and who that daddy has Derek Carr's toilet paper. Derek Carr sent me some PJs. I'd wear them. Mally Mal. He did a thumbs down on my podcast, on my video. Just kidding. Somebody did. If you don't think I don't go look at those things, I can't tell who did them, but if you don't think I go look and see which ones get thumbs down, you would be wrong. I absolutely go look. Last comment of the day. Hey, I've taken a lot of crap. Let's make it a good one. Gerard Semino says, I should not be fired. I am on fire. And I know I get fiery. I lied. I am taking one more comment. Who that daddy? Who has become a beloved member of the family. Great show and family. I had a blast. Love you, New Orleans. We can agree on that one, my brother. Who that? All right, let's go to the last word. Don't leave yet. The May 3rd flood. Okay, it isn't sports. But it is naturally Nolans, and we can all use a little Frank Davis in our lives every now and then, right? Garland Gillen was here. Might not appreciate us doing WWL, but whatever. It's naturally Nolans. 47 years ago tomorrow. It used to be the standard for all floods in the New Orleans area. The problem is all the people who were here back then and remember it are old like me. Any of y'all remember it? Where were you on May 3rd, 1978? UBN wasn't born yet. When 8 inches fell in just a few hours in New Orleans, and you think the pumps suck now. They were way worse nearly a half a century ago. How about this one? I remember coming home and getting off the bus with water nearly up to my door. And the house I lived in at the time, it never flooded as far as I know, like before or after. I remember taking a pirogue from the backyard and rowing my way over to a friend's house a few streets over because the water at the corner was up past my waist. There you go. There's a canoe. We used the pirogue. For decades after that, when there was water in the street, people would say, it's bad, but it ain't no May 3rd flood. Indeed, on that one day back when Night Fever was the #1 song in the nation and MASH, yeah, here we go again. MASH was the top of the TV ratings. There was water everywhere, and the only way to get around was in a boat, like this lady and her family, I guess. Pictures courtesy of the Times-Picayune from 1978. Of course, I was just shy of 10 years old, so it probably wasn't as bad as it is in my head, but it certainly was bad enough to make me think of that day every time it comes around in the calendar. Hopefully, we won't have any sort of repeat this weekend or anytime soon. How about we just have a nice, quiet summer? We get through May with no floods. Although we're supposed to have a big rainstorm tonight. We can get through that. Hopefully the pumps are okay. And then we get through the summer without you know what. I'm not even talking about it. It's been a little while. No, you know what. We do not want to postpone the Dattitude podcast. But anyway, we remember way back when this afternoon. How many of y'all remember? May 3rd flood. That daddy said we're riding in inner tubes down the street. Earl said we had a flood when you were like 14 in the 90s. Yes. The May 8th flood. May 8th. Let me see if I can get this right in my head. May 8th. I think it was 1995. Hello, A-Town. If I didn't show a comment from you, thank you for being here this afternoon. And with that, we've talked about the May 3rd flood. We're moving on. We're going to have nothing but positive. We had an interesting show today. It was really interesting. We had so many different viewpoints. Garland came on to save the day. Jeff Duncan was supposed to come on the show. He just wasn't able to. He didn't realize what he had going on today. He's got his Saints Insider podcast coming up in a little bit on the Saints Insider page. You can go check him out. But we want to thank Garland Gillen, today's guest, and you, this first show of May. We hope you can join us next on Monday when we're going to have Mono on Monday. We're going to do this all over again. I'm going to try not to talk as much about Shough and Carr and Rat. Can we find some? We've hardly. Do y'all even want to talk about Kelvin Banks? I mean, we haven't talked about him at all. What about the other picks? Something undrafted free agents. The fact that the Saints don't have any wide receivers. Maybe we'll talk. I mean, we're going to have to talk some Shough and Carr, but maybe we'll sprinkle it in. We'll see what else we're going to talk about. Gabe should be back. We'll see what happens. We're going to have a show that not circling around the Saints quarterback situation. Probably not. We'll see what happens. A reminder, if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Had a bunch of subscribers. As a matter of fact, as I try to get people coming over from Facebook to YouTube, trust me, the people who matter, who are watching where we are, they're watching where we are on YouTube. We passed the 1,000 subscriber mark. I thank you all. And I know that doesn't sound like a big number to a lot of you, but we're getting about 10,006. We're averaging somewhere between 10,600 and 10,800 per show this year so far across the different platforms. We've been averaging more viewers per subscriber than the subscribers we have on YouTube. We just got to get those who are watching on YouTube to hit the subscribe button. We got to get the people who are watching on Facebook to come over and subscribe. But again, the people that matter, the people going to help me keep this show in the air, that's what they watch. They watch the number of subscribers I've got on YouTube. They watch how many people watch each show on YouTube. They watch how long people are staying on and watching on YouTube. You can help me make sure we stay on the air and that Dattitude goes on for a long time until I'm ready to retire. And that ain't anytime soon. Going to be here with you for a while. Whoever the quarterback is after Shough and Rattler and Carr, and oh yeah, going to be here for that. We'll have a debate on that, I'm sure, too. So a reminder to subscribe if you haven't done so already. We've had a really good week. Really good 2 weeks, actually, with the subscription. So keep it rolling. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live, which is generally Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. I actually said we won't have a Friday show next week. It might be Wednesday. We may now. I forgot that the mini camp, the rookie camp is next weekend. So we actually may go Monday and Friday instead of Monday and Wednesday. We'll see. I'll let you know on Monday. Earl said he's going to share my show on Facebook. You have like 3,000 followers. Great. Earl, love it. Thank you so much. I'll do the same for you. UBN says, have a great day, Dattitude family. Remember, if we see him at Jazz Fest, he's been kidnapped, and to call 911. Same thing for me, my friend. I will be at Pope John Paul II later on for VSN calling Pope John Paul Game 2, playing at Episcopal in the Division III Select quarterfinals. Maybe my last play-by-play of the game of the year. I hope not. Of the school year, that is. I know one thing. It's not the last podcast of the year. We will see you on Monday. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, many more, and find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. Me on bet.NOLA.com. The insiders on NOLA.com/sports/Saints. Everyone have a wonderful, glorious, fabulous weekend. Stay dry. Don't hate too much. Don't even think about Derek Carr again until we come back on Monday. How's that? Sounds good? All right. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.